Something unsettling happens to our spirits as we grow older. They shrink. For some of us, it's the only way to make room for who we're supposed to be or who we're expected to be. At home, at work, with friends, and even with other relationships that mean the world to us. It becomes the only way to live with darts of criticism leveled at us on a daily basis. The shoulds, the why aren't yous, until one fine day you decide that the least painful way to cope with all of it is to disappear. For some, this disappearance is emotional, a melting into the background of our own lives. For others, it's physical, a complete abandonment of a life we once believed was a dream. Journaling about this over the past month, I began to wonder, what if the best way to cope isn't stepping away, but taking up space again? Not loudly, not aggressively, but intentionally, feeling more at home in ourselves and making small, brave choices to show up as ourselves in those relationships. This year, Radical Seasons explores what it means to take up space in a healthy, grounded way. And we couldn't have started with a better guest to help us understand what it means to take back power in our own lives. Kauchi's work is about one thing: helping women rise from trauma to triumph as they learn to live with courage, conviction, and faith.
So the gentleman, example, he called and asked, "Congratulations, Puta. So, Baba Kaluida Suduida. Oya Wageda, Dush Wageda."
Wow.
And when I used to go in a school van, they would always give me the sunny side of the seat and they would say, "Yeah, Kuhumat Kaluine, she's anyway dark, so it doesn't matter if she gets sunburned." The sad part is, even though we grow physically and become adults, we never grow out of these words. Because in your head, you're like, you're a blackie, you're a Tara barrel, you're a Kalu Kapita. Your worth is tied around the complexion of your skin. So the biggest part of healing for me was to...
Then I got a whole sermon in front of everybody at church. A whole sermon on how a mother should be and how it was not like, "Rochelle, you are this." But I was being looked down on and being told in front of everybody. Yeah. So I was like, are you kidding me?
That you're an entrepreneur and an attorney at law, and as I have defined it, an advocate for taking your power back.
Yes.
And I've seen you on Instagram. I follow you. I have known you, even though I have not taught you when I was back in school, I have known you as a student. I've seen you, being involved in school activities. And now, you're like an influencer out there, making, so many people's lives, I think, better with the messages that you're sharing. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about the kind of work that you're doing right now, Kauchi?
Sure. Miss Maria, first of all, thank you for having me here. Like I just told you, this means a lot to me because one is that this is an acknowledgement to me that the work I do is getting seen. But beyond that, this is my very first podcast
Not
invite,
your
and
last.
and that too is so meaningful because it's from someone who knew me from way back then. And that kind of really adds a lot of value to it. So that means you've seen the transition. That means you've seen my growth. And for me, that's why this is so special. So the work I do, I don't know how to put it all in one because I'm actually balancing a lot of plates.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, I'm a wife to an amazing, amazing guy. And I'm a mom of three, a singleton and twins. So that kind of takes a big chunk of my time and my energy. Right now, in this season, it takes a lot because they're all small and so other than that, like you said, I'm a lawyer and I'm writing my very first book. It's been there for a while, so hopefully it'll come out soon. Uh, but right now, what I'm really working a lot is this inner healing coach thing, because I think that's where my heart is, and I'm doing a lot of work, content-wise, coaching-wise, helping people come out of their shell. Like you said, advocating to get their power back. So that's, I also teach. I teach at a Christian Catholic school called the Encounter School of Ministry. So that's also there. And I'm also at the business that Dush and I founded. I handle the business development, and I'm a social media consultant. And this year,
That's a whole lot, right? How do you get the energy to do all of this, madam, in 24 hours a day? Oh my goodness.
yeah, I get that question a lot. The honest
Yeah.
answer is I don't know. I think each of it keeps me going. If not, I'll get consumed in. It's a lot being a mom, uh, especially with the twins. So I think each of it keeps me going. I make time because I'm passionate about all of it. So
I think
yeah,
that's the key, right? Because I think it's about like, if you are passionate about what you do, you obviously make time. So
absolutely.
I think you're making very good use of your time. And like you're really passionate about spreading, if I were to say this undercurrent, is this the importance of loving yourself first. And that's, I
Absolutely.
think, the message that comes through in a lot of your videos. So this need to have compassion for yourself first often comes because of some childhood experience that you've encountered. Sometimes it's a very painful experience. As I said, I'm speaking from my personal journey as well. But kind of is the root of all of this passion to spread this message.
First of all, I'm sorry that you had to endure something in your childhood, and I can tell you, you're radiating light yourself, so you've really, come out stronger. Yes, yes, definitely yes. Um, I've spoken about this so many times. I've shared a lot about it, but every time you go to that spot, it's not that I'm sad anymore, but it's such a vulnerable and tender place. So I've experienced abuse as a child, and I was also born during the heart of the ethnic conflict, the war. So there were multiple things layered in my childhood that caused wounds of abandonment, neglect, poverty, um, self sabotage, self worth issues. All of it kind of worked together in creating such a painful, traumatic childhood for me. So, and for the most part of it, I dealt with all of it by myself. Because as you know, right now we're talking a lot about mental health. Even the word trauma is like coming out, and it's all great, but back in the day, no one spoke about it. No one spoke about abuse. It was such a stigma. It was not something someone would even confide in someone. So, because I dealt with all of it by myself, I'm grateful that I dealt with all of it by myself, because then that's how I have learned what I have learned today. All this wisdom I have, all this knowledge I have, is because I went through the brunt of it by myself, at the most painful, excruciating levels. But one thing I realized is I it would have helped if I had someone who I could have related to and tell me that what I'm feeling was valid, that all this neglect and self-hate and was a result of what happened to me and not who I am. So it was because of all these incidents in my childhood, repeated incidents, not just once. And I thought, now that I have picked myself up, it's time to pass the battle on or pass the light fathers for little Kaushi. First of all, I'm doing it for little Kaushi because she's still healing. There's no finality in healing. It's progressive. So first of all, I'm doing it for little Kaushi, and then I realized so many there are other little Kaushis who can benefit. So yeah.
True. So true. Kaushi, so I was a little curious. Like, you said that you grew up in in the heart of the ethnic conflict and you experienced things like poverty. Can you give us a little bit, your experience as a child, like going through
Yeah.
these difficulties, like especially like
Yeah.
where did you grow up, your parents?
Sure, absolutely. So I have a very, very wonderful and resilient family. Almost all the resilience I have, the light, joy, the smile, it's like a family signature. So um, if you met all of them, you'll see this common thread in all of us. So we were actually, Amma and Appa actually from Batiklo. That's where I was conceived. So this was in 1997. And so then, so I was an unplanned pregnancy for Amma. And I understand now as a mom how much of anguish this must have caused in her heart to bring up a child in the heart of a war, in the heart of crisis. So she did the most natural thing of having a lot of fears of not wanting the child. But thankfully, God intervened, and my father was like, "No, we're having this child."
Mm.
Thank God, right? Thank
Thank
you,
God.
Appa. So, anyhow, long story short, when Amma was full on pregnant with me, and the house was shelled, and they had to put us in the bunker, and and they had been like, there are no we can't take you to hospital. There are no doctors. The baby has to come out now.
Oh
So
my.
Amma, yeah, it must have been absolutely traumatic for her. I realize now. So she pushes me out and I refuse to come out because obviously there's so much of chaos going around, but I come out. And then Appa did the most bravest thing and he thought, okay, let's move to Colombo because this place is bad to bring up children. Because there was three of us by that time, Akka, Anna, myself. So we pretty much moved to Colombo within 3 months of my birth as refugees. That's the right word to use because we didn't have a house or anyone here in Colombo to help us. So they apparently just packed whatever they could, moved in here in a tractor. And I think we've experienced our share of homelessness, our share of poverty, because Appa was so affected by all of this. His practice was completely looted. He was his pharmacy, everything, and he couldn't deal with it. And he didn't want to go back to something that broke his heart. So, in order to keep us all alive, in order to feed us, he became a driver. And I don't know how heartbreaking this must have been for him, but he did that for us. So that's where things were really hard for us, from being a really affluent family to starting from scratch. And then my younger brother was born, and then he's a ray of sunshine. But it was hard. Four kids, and Appa being a driver. And they're very ambitious. They wanted to put us to all the big schools. I don't know how they did it. They got us into St. Richard's and my brothers into St. Peter's, and they just worked so hard. Both Mama was giving English tuition at home and Appa would just work shifts after shifts. But it affected me at a level because the kind of people that come to Bridget's, right? There's a certain class of people. And here I am, a driver's daughter, and there have been days where we would hardly have anything in the lunchbox. And the struggle was for me to adjust to that lifestyle of they would have parties, and there was a birthday. I hardly had a birthday cake. So that was I was caught up between these two worlds of being the Columbus Savan girl with Columbus our friends who'd come to school in cars, and I was the only one coming in bus, and then back at home, where every meal was a struggle. So that that broke my heart. It impacted me. Uh, then also at a very young age, because we lived in, we lived in a vatta, a place with a lot of other families. Uh, that's where the incident started.
Okay.
That's where I was approached by, and so I obviously didn't tell about it to anyone. That's why when I started into, because not in a way that my parents weren't unavailable, they were very available, but they were dealing with
Yeah.
so much on their plates. So I didn't want to add one more thing to their
Mm.
plate. So I thought, no, how she can handle this. So that's where I learned to shape shift. In the nights, I would just cry. I'd be so upset. But once I'm going to school, I'm like, that's game on, game face on. I'm smiling. I get involved in a lot of stuff in school. Like, I was in the choir, I did sports, I joined all these clubs. I was very forward. So that was the duality, that was
Mm.
yeah, so that's how my childhood looked like.
Oh wow. Oh wow. So yeah, that's a lot, Kaushi. That and like, it's amazing that, like, how God sometimes allows these things in our lives, right? Because, like, when I think of you in school, as you said, like, I always saw this child. You weren't a child; you were a teenager. Like, I think you were in
Yeah.
your A-levels, but always so helpful, always so kind, full of light. What really, like, got you through those moments? Like, you said the shape shifting. Like, how did you, like, decide to, like, I mean, deal with this imbalance when it comes to, the lack that you felt you had when it came to your friends, and also the trauma that you went through because of the abuse? How did you, like, overcome that at that young age? What got you through?
This light that you are talking about, if you met my other siblings and Amma, you'd say the very same thing.
Okay.
So the resilience, the light is actually directly inherited from my parents. They're both, no matter, I'll share this really amazing incident. You'll understand what I mean. So like I said, we were struggling, even to have a meal a day, and Appa would work on night shifts. Like he would do double OT, and he'd come home at odd times, like at 3 o'clock or 2 o'clock. But he would come with freshly made roti and chicken curry. And chicken
Yum.
curry is a luxury. I know it's a
At 3 in the
luxury
morning.
now, but it was a super luxury back then.
Yeah. Yeah.
He would come and wake us up at 3 o'clock in the morning and say,
Yeah.
let's eat. And we
Wow.
would eat. So that's the spirit they passed on to us. No matter how dark things were, no matter how they taught us to celebrate each moment. They taught us to
Mm.
make the best out of it. So that light is definitely, as much as all of us experienced collective trauma, that was a common strand that they really taught us. But if you're asking me how I really balanced this complete conflict of personality and this, I have to say Jesus. Thanks to Amma, we were brought up in a very Catholic, traditional Catholic family, right? So the prayers were mandatory. 6 o'clock rosary was mandatory. Unless you're dying, you have to come. So I had a very, because I couldn't talk to anyone about everything that was going on, I had two habits. One, I would talk to Jesus. Two, I journal. I had stacks and stacks of diaries as a teenager. So I would write to Jesus. I processed him only now as a grown up. I realized that this was actually a brilliant trauma coping survival mechanism. I didn't know back then. I was just writing to Jesus. So, and uh, I learned that he finds me special, that he loves me in and through all the shitty things horrible things that happened, I had nowhere else to go but to him. And thank God that was the case, because as I grew, I had a very intimate encounter with him when I was in 16, 17, where I experienced him in such a deep and tangible way, and he just flooded my heart and filled that vacuum that hole that was there. He just filled it, and he told me, "Let's go, Kaushi. There's so much I need to do. Let's go." I said, "Okay, let's go."
Wow, what a testimony. It's amazing. But I think we have that in common. I also journal. And I
Oh,
think journaling is such an important, like sometimes, like I started journaling when I was 11 as well, but you don't know how important that is until you're older, right?
yeah.
So yeah, because like I also have this, like I still journal. So my first line is Dear God, and then like you narrate how you're feeling, what you're going through. And also I've started another practice. Like sometimes no one understands you except Jesus. So like when I'm
Okay.
anxious, I just imagine myself. I have this mental practice. I'm sitting on a bench with Jesus next to me, overlooking the Sea of Galilee. And like the Sea of Galilee kind of represents the state of my life at that moment. So like if it's turbulent, it's like, there's a storm on it. And then like I just sit with Jesus and he holds my hand. And then
Oh,
there are sometimes
wow.
I know, and that really is a soothing, like a mental practice for me. Sometimes when I'm really overwhelmed, the last time I was really overwhelmed, he got me to sit at his feet and keep my head against his knee. And then I was listening to a sermon, and apparently that is something that Mary and Martha, Mary did that when
Yeah,
Jesus came to
yeah.
visit. So apparently that sitting at Jesus' feet is an acknowledgement of his authority over you. So
Wow.
he was like trying to say, look, I'm the God of your life.
Wow.
I have control over this. Don't worry. The thing is, I just worry. I'm so anxious all the time. But
Absolutely.
so, like, it's amazing how God speaks to us and gives us these tools, like the journaling, like this mental practice to like work through things. But sometimes, yeah, it can get overwhelming. But yeah, so like, I just wanted to share because I completely wish other, I don't know, because I don't see young people doing that now. I don't know whether
Yeah.
people journal or I don't know. I know that like when it comes to the young people, I know I've encouraged it, but sometimes they're scared that someone will read their journal or
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
issues, yeah, are there. But yeah, anyway, sorry, just go on a little bit off topic.
No,
So,
not at all.
yeah, so let's get into like, where you are now. I know you're a mom and you've had your twins and you had an experience there as well. It was like a very difficult season with them being born premature. Did this journey to you, spreading this message or being an advocate for, speaking out about, the importance of self-love, did it start after that or like what kickstarted this journey?
Absolutely. So I was involved in Christian ministry from as a teenager itself. So as I was healing, as I was journeying with Jesus, I did a lot of work, and I would share the word. I would share, but like you said, the distinct leap was after the twins specifically. Because what happened was, after we got married, we both agreed that we are going to wait for 5 years, so that I can get all my internal, I'd carried so much of baggage into the marriage, so I knew too much to transfer it to my kids. So I said, no, I need to work through my baggage, and which was so wonderful about it. So we worked through it. We met spiritual counselors, guides, and we really worked on all. And I really sat in prayer, a lot of prayer and worship. So then we had Damien. We call him Aloka. Dush named him Aloka because he's really marked a era in my life, era of light. And then, we were like, okay, maybe we'll have another one after some time, of course, because we were ready to stop with just one. But then sometimes you have so much love to give, and I'm like, okay, Jesus, maybe we can have one more. And then we pray, and then we get on it. And then I conceive, and then we go to the checkup, all good. First month, the first month scan, second month, all good. Third or fourth month scan is when my gyno goes, oh darling, there's a surprise. I'm like, what do you mean? It's the fourth month. I can't have surprises now.
Yeah.
They're like, what I do? I'm like, I do.
Oh my goodness.
And the best part was he was like, they're girls, darling. My world shifted then. My world shifted then because something that happened with Damien was as soon as he was born, people call and they're excited, they're calling to wish. I remember this very specific call I got. This older gentleman, his uncle, he called and asked, congratulations, Puta. So, Baba Kalu ida Sudu ida. Oya wageda, dush wageda.
Wow.
All my trauma of color shaming, or because I endured, oh, I missed it. So as a child, because of my dark skin, I went through a lot of hate towards my body. That was like a big chunk of my, big part of why I hated myself, the color of my skin. And this question he asked flashed my entire childhood, and I'm like, not again. Because
Mm.
Damien is a boy, and I mean, even if he turned out dark, it's fine. But he came out looking like his dad, which I really love. He's fair skinned. Then I'm like, what if these girls come out looking like me? I need to be in a position where I am able to empower them and make them
Mm.
strong enough to face this world, because no matter how much color shaming is a topic, is a trend now, brown skin, cinnamon skin is a topic, people are still very sudunang lasana, kalunat lasana, this whole. So then it dawned on me, okay, Kaushi, you need to embrace yourself, love yourself so deeply, because that's the only way you can teach the girls to love themselves. So then that's actually how this happened. When I learned that they were girls, I told myself I have to start loving myself. I have to embrace who I am. And then I started on this while I was pregnant with them. I focused a lot about loving myself and all. And along with their birth trauma, I had birth trauma with them. They came in premature in the heart of the economic crisis. We almost lost them actually, and I was diagnosed with PTSD. What happened was PTSD triggered my past trauma. So it became CPTSD,
Oh.
complex post-traumatic stress disorder. So all my old wounds were triggered all over again, and I would have these flashes from my past. I would just go into anxiety. I would spiral so quickly. And I would be like so scared for things to go wrong. I couldn't be around like it was a really difficult place. So I had to rework on myself all over again. And now I have two girls watching me.
Mm.
So I knew I had to get it right. I knew I had to do this right. And that's why the public appearance came actually after that. The Instagram account was
Okay.
set up because I'm documenting. Like I said, I journal. So this is
Mm.
my IG is my way of journaling and documenting, because I want to know how much I've healed, and I want the girls to know that it's okay. But then again, they also came out looking like their father. I mean, they have my features, but they have fair skin, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. This world can be very cruel if they really want to, but I'm going to teach them how to be empathetic and how to really bring on their power.
Okay, so Kaushi, words matter. And do you think that parents and teachers and especially like extended relatives of the family, aunties, should know something about, how we should speak to kids, especially when it comes to their
Absolutely.
looks?
Words are everything. You know how you've heard, you must obviously you know of your teacher. You know of the scientific experiment where you speak life into a plant and it flourishes, but where you fuss and speak negativity into a plant, that plant dies. So this actually has a very long-term effect in our heads. Our neural paths are developed, our brain is developed around these words that were spoken to us. So for me, since I used to travel by bus, all these, I used to always hear boys yelling, Blackie, Tara Barrel. And when I used to go in a school van, they would always give me the sunny side of the seat, and they would say, "Yeah, kuhumat kalu ine, she's anyway dark, so it doesn't matter if she gets sunburned." The sad part is, even though we grow physically and become adults, we never grow out of these words. So for me, actually, my biggest challenge was to override these voices in my head, to look in the mirror and not hear these words repeated. Because if you ask anyone who's subjected to these words, this kind of bullying, verbal bullying, verbal abuse, these words keep ringing in your ear continuously, and it shapes you. So even if you're wearing the most gorgeous designer brand there is, and everyone tells you, "Oh, you look so good," in your head, you don't look good. Because in your head, you're like, you're a blackie, you're a Tara barrel, you're a Kalu Kapata. Your worth is tied around the complexion of your skin. So the biggest part of healing for me was to override those voices and say, no, they were lying. They were cruel, wicked people, and their words no longer have power. And my prayer, my inner healing prayer, is constantly removing the soul tie, so to speak, from these words that were spoken over me. So now, as you follow my Instagram, I share a lot about, how I'm experimenting different colors, how I'm dressing up to go to places, even if it's just a supermarket run, I dress up. Because every time I dress up, I'm reprogramming my brain. It's neuroplasticity. You're telling yourself you're not the voices in your head. You are deserving of looking beautiful. You are beautiful. You deserve to look happy and be happy. So I think this message needs to go out to people who still think it's cool to bully, to say mean and nasty things to people, because the impact of it is lifelong. So don't speak, don't do that, don't be wicked. It's as simple as that. And if you're a parent, especially, uh, the world has enough and more people to correct your child and tell your child. Don't be scared about trying that your child is going to get big-headed with your words. No, there's enough and more voices in the world who's going to bully your child, who's going to tell your child 100 different things. You are their primary caregiver. You have to nurture the voices. You have to program the voice in their head. Your voice is what will echo in their head long term. So that is why even for Damien, it's the same thing. It's the same blueprint. It doesn't matter what gender. I always take time to appreciate him, sit and have a conversation with him. I tell him if he has done something really, really great. I go into the details of it. I tell him how valuable he is, because he's 7-year-old. He also comes back telling Amma, he told me this, he told me that, he told me the other thing. I can't do anything about it. He's gonna grow up into that world. I can't mollycoddle him and block all these voices, but I can anchor his core system. I can anchor his core belief and say, you know what? 1,000 people may tell you this, but this is who you are. You are fearfully and wonderfully made, and God had a purpose of putting you here, and you're not what every Tom, Dick, and Harry tells you. So that's like the basic thing. From the time the child is in your womb, you need to speak life. You need to speak words of encouragement, words of truth about their identity, because wrong words cause an identity crisis, and people suffer with that their entire lives.
But for me, Psalm 139 is my birthday gift to everybody.
Psalm 139.
Yeah, that's why it says you're fearfully and wonderfully made.
Yes.
And
Yes.
God knits you. Knits you means
Absolutely.
there was a model who explained it very well. She said, my grandmother used to knit, but my grandmothers, right? They knit. So when a grandmother knits with the grandmother spends so much of time, right? And every knit or knot or whatever you call it, stitch or whatever, it takes time, right? And there is so much of love that goes into it. Okay. So, just imagine how much of time God spends on you. So for me, that was I need a lot of healing, like for Kauchi. So I really understood that we were spending time in the Word and what God says about it, right? For me, that's why, like, I look to people to affirm me, right? As I said, Maria. So Kauchi, I really resonate with you, what you say. Especially about everybody, you may be wearing the best of clothes. People may say you're beautiful, you're hot, you're this, you're that, and you're sexy and this, but you don't feel it, right? You don't realize that it's the inner man that needs to feel that needs to know it. I didn't know it. And this my mother used to say, from small days, people were attracted to me, but I didn't know it. Not that I didn't know it, I didn't feel it.
You didn't connect with it, is what you're saying, because in your head, all these other lies were dominating. So you couldn't connect with that reality. Absolutely.
Yeah. So because of that, I kind of made a lot of wrong decisions. But it's God's love and His words, spoken over me, and I took it so personal. And now nothing hurts me. And if anybody bugs me about anything, I'm like, this is what God says about me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, tell us about, I hear your husband's name coming up quite often. Like, tell us a little bit about how you met your husband.
Oh my gosh, this is the best chapter of my life. I say chapter because in my book I have an entire chapter just on this.
Okay.
Because Miss Maria, I know how cruel people can be, and this taught me how loving people can be. That's the long and short of it. So right after school, I hit ad, look for vacancies because that's what you did back in the day, right? So there was this advertisement for a content writer, and I'm like, okay, I can write. So I applied. Then I get the call the next day, and I go and they hire me immediately. I'm like, really?
Wow.
And first day of work, Amma takes me to office. How that's how things used to happen. She took me to office, and that's where I first met my manager.
Manager.
It's not your
Ah,
big
the
company.
manager.
It was a
The
very
manager.
small manager. Yes. In my defense, it wasn't your big blue chip multinational company. It was a SME. It was an IT company with about 5 team members. We were developing software, so I had to do the content writing. So he was your lead developer, and I was the content writer. So we had to work together. It was actually friendship at first. I was after a very, very bad breakup, and so I was just enjoying the company, enjoying all of them. The entire team was actually great. I was the only girl, so they all, it was a really nice break for me. And then in my head, this is how we are programmed, this Columbus and posh mindset, because this is from Gaul. And he went to St. Aloysius School and he moved to Colombo for work. So he's not your stereotypical, this know-it-all dude that we would date back in school, right? So in my head, that was like the blocker. Blocker, I told myself, I'm like, no, you're not gonna date this guy. He's a great friend, but this is not gonna work. But in and through our friendship, the kind of honesty he brought to our friendship, the kind of real, he's so real. Dush is so real, and there's nothing flowery about him. As in, he doesn't show something, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm falling for him. I'm falling for him. No, 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 no. But I couldn't stop myself. he consumed me. With his honesty, because I had dealt with people, but he was the first person I was honest with. He just saw through my bullshit. That's he saw, right? He cut through my bullshit. He saw the facade I was wearing. So it was beautiful because this was the time I was having a deep encounter with Jesus. So I was working a lot of internal. So Dush seeing me in my most vulnerable place was actually healing for me. So he's actually my healer. He brought in so much of healing in my life. And yeah, but of course there was drama because he's Sinhala, Gaul Sinhala, and I'm Batikalo Tamil. You can't blame my mother. My dad actually passed away just before I got married. My mom was hell bent no, because she had her bad experiences with Sinhala people. But everyone falls in love with the she saw eventually what he was doing to me, because I kept flunking my after Appa passed away, I kept flunking my attorney my law exam, my LLB. And Dush was the one who was pushing me to do it. He was encouraging me, and Amma saw it. Amma saw what he was doing to me, and she finally said, "Okay, if that's what makes you happy." And then we got married, and then we started a business together.
Ah, very
What's the business
sweet.
that you
Very
all started?
We have an IT company, so this we do a lot of websites, softwares, cloud applications, mobile applications.
What's
This
the name of
handles
the
all.
company and how can people find it?
Yes,
yeah.
www.fanaticdesign.com.
It was
So
actually a topic that Rochelle and I were both interested in. This idea that, like, it had come out in that recent post that you put out on Instagram as well. I just said, you talk about protecting personal boundaries. Like in this post, you said, for years I never said no. I overextended, I overgave, I over apologized. And then you go on to say, now I'm swinging like a pendulum from total self abandonment to total self protection. Can you tell us why this, protecting your personal boundaries is important when it comes to, you said you were talking about accountability. Tell us why this is
absolutely.
important.
Absolutely. So boundaries is one of the, if you looking to someone who has dealt with abandonment and neglect issues, their biggest craving, their biggest desire in their hearts is to be validated by people, to be acknowledged, to be seen. So for this, we become performers from a very young age.
That's why Facebook is thriving.
Oh, yes.
Validation.
Yeah. And Instagram.
Well, one way to see it, yes. So, what happens is because of this, we become performers with a performance mentality. Everything we do it for the sake of others. And like I said in my post itself, I was having exams the next day, but my friend needed me. I didn't think, it didn't even occur to me, oh my God, this is my finals or my one of my final papers. This is my priority. This decides my entire future. I need to focus on my exam. It didn't occur to me. All it was I need to be there for my friend. It's not coming from a place of love, of I need to be there for my friend. It's coming from place of performance. If I don't show up, she's going to think less of me. She's going to cut me off. So it's not coming from a healthy place to really love
It's a
someone
place
as a
of fear,
performer.
right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You identified it head on. So we have done this from our childhood, that whatever we do, we don't think about ourselves. We don't think about our priorities. We've always done things for people, and we've said, yes, sir, no, sir, 3 bags full, sir, whatever you do. We don't ask questions. We don't say no. We don't know. So the biggest part of healing is as you silence these voices in your head, and as you discover your self-worth, as you discover your desires, prioritize your needs as it should be, not from a very selfish place. That's the slight misunderstanding here. People think the moment you prioritize yourself, you're being selfish. See, if I don't love myself enough, I can never love my children. I need to be in a very healthy place of love to pour out to them. So as you silence these voices and as you really try learn to love yourself, put your needs, put your desires, your priorities, you will then realize, oh, something someone expects of me doesn't really align, no longer aligns with my journey of who I am becoming. So if somebody now, earlier when my friend asked me that, I didn't even think, I didn't even blink an eye, I went. But now when my friend expects that of me, I'll be like, no, I actually have an exam tomorrow and I can't be there for you. So that's the boundary you're putting. This is going to result in losing friends as it did for me, because they have it on their part, they have gotten used to seeing you in a certain way. So the moment you say, no, I'm no longer saying yes to everything you're doing, I'm going to stand up and voice my opinion, they're going to get upset by it, but that's okay because you're in a learning curve. Like I said in the post, it's another extreme you're journeying to. You're going from uh, abandoning yourself to protecting yourself. So there's no perfect way of journeying and saying, no, this is the amount of self-love you should have. This is the amount of boundaries you should have. You're all learning. So we will learn. Eventually, I will also learn the best way to put the boundary, but it has to start somewhere, no? So that starting point is going to be radical. You have to put radical boundaries and say no. People who make me feel less than, people who belittle me, people who intimidate me, who don't see value in me, I have to cut them off. And then when I am strong enough, when I'm in a better place to love them and love myself, then hopefully life will bring those people around and you're able to connect from a healthier relationship. Yeah.
Okay. Especially in a religious context, you're made to feel guilty if you talk about loving yourself.
Absolutely.
And that is, I'm not saying going to a spa, and I mean, that is not a wrong thing, but, not just about putting on something or like outward beauty, but inside part of it, right? So I've seen it a lot happening in a religious context, how loving yourself is seen as something bad, even to this day. And because of that, there's a lot of trauma. There's a lot of trauma. Yeah.
See, it's because I think we've understood this whole thing wrong. If Damien comes to me and says, Amma, I know you love me, but I don't love myself, that would crush my heart as his parent. And that's the same purview our Father has. He loves us above and beyond, absolutely. But it would break Jesus' heart if I tell Jesus, I don't love myself. So, see, for me, this was a very intimate experience for me because I was at a place where I couldn't love myself because of my past abuse. I hated who I was because of my skin color. I thought I was dirty. I thought I was miserable. But it was my relationship with Jesus when that He loved me first. Even at a state when I couldn't love myself, He loved me. But that is not enough. You can't stay in that place and say, no, I don't love myself, but Jesus loves me. Because there's no growth there. Healing means you have to grow. And then when you're so filled with God's love and you arrive at a place where I'm able to love myself, that's not a sin. Because like I said, it goes back to the parenting mindset. If Damien came to me and said, Amma, I don't love myself, that will destroy me as a parent. So I don't think God wants us to hate ourselves. Of course, humility, humbleness, meekness, all that are brilliant virtues. We need to grow. So it's not that self-love from an arrogant place, but I understand why people see it as arrogance because our culture has programmed us to think that self-love, the moment you take a selfie and put out that it's arrogance. Oh, she's asking for attention. So what? So what? She's asking for attention. If you are in a space to give her attention, give her attention. If not, move on. you are mad because she is vocalizing something that you have internalized all your life.
Yeah.
So it's this, that's what we need to break that. We need to say, that's why I'm so vocal. While I share a lot about Jesus stuff, I purposefully share about my clothes. I purposefully share about me partying, having a good time, because that's how I'm taking care of myself. And I've had people message me and say, "Oh my God, you've changed. How can you?" And I'm like, "Of course I've changed. I'm healing." But that's
Yeah.
change is not a bad thing. It's not.
So in my case, in 2017, adding to that, right? In 2007, end of 2016, I was shattered by some personal experience, and it broke me, to smithereens. And I knew God. I felt like the Lord was speaking to me and kind of telling me I had to go through this, because it was like He was rebuilding something. Sometimes He needs us to be broken to kind of make something more beautiful in us, right? So, but I knew it was coming. In a sense, I didn't know what sort of thing was going to come. But when it did come, it broke me. It really broke me. But in 2017, I felt like, God was really healing me. And I came to a point where I could stand on my own, right? And I wore this dress which my mother had sent. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, and I took up. I mean, they featured it. I went for this event because I'm a journalist, no? So they featured me in some magazine, and they were saying, "Oh my word!" I mean, that person concerned. I didn't matter that whoever, like, nobody really. The person concerned didn't notice. I was featured in a magazine and this and that and blah, blah. So I felt so good, not because of out of pride, but I felt like that my low self-esteem was gone there, God had healed it fully. And that was a picture I posted on Facebook out of happiness,
Yeah.
because I felt, oh my word, finally I have the guts to post something because I feel good, right? I really, inside of me, I feel good. And then I got a whole sermon in front of everybody at church, a whole sermon on how a mother should be and how I mean, it was not like, Rochelle, you are this, but I was being looked down on and being told in front of everybody. Yeah. So I was like, are you kidding me?
I'm so sorry.
I
I'm
was like,
so
I don't
sorry.
care. I don't
So
care. I don't care.
Ah,
So yeah, it's like God took time to heal me. It's amazing.
So I think
so
it's important.
profound. Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's
Thank you.
important that we're sharing these stories, because like I think
Yeah.
listeners who are like still at that stage where they think religion should be associated with guilt and shrinking from, like, pampering yourself and treating yourself well. I think they need to hear that it's not the case, because that's what we've learned growing up. No, Lent and all. Oh my God, you can't eat this and you have to feel horrid all the time. But I don't think that's the kind of religion that Jesus came to give us. So yeah, it's important that we love ourselves.
No, so I think they have robbed the intimacy between God and man. That's why all this legalistic. But if you really look at God as Abba Father, your entire thing shifts. Because a father is a father. So then the whole thing, yeah,
There's a paradigm shift, right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
That mind blowing, that kind of changes how you see yourself. Because if not, again with God, we are performing, no. We are trying to please Him. We are trying to do things right by Him. We are trying to fast. We are trying to, even fasting is out of performance. But when you see Him as a father and you can see the kind of goodness that flows into your life through fasting, you're doing it from a place of love. So, yeah.
And that's what He wants for us. It has to be out of love. It has to be self-love, when it's intermingled with humility and without arrogance. It's just so free. And I believe, like what he says, when the sun sets you free, you are free indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with my children, I always, we used to, my husband and I never used to kind of, not that we didn't allow them to watch these cartoons, but those cartoons were like really demeaning after a while. So we just used to get very good, kind of uplifting movies and all that, and things that made them feel, feel as in know that they're amazing. So when I look at them, I think, wow, the confidence they have, right?
That
Yeah.
and the emotional intelligence. Oh, that this generation is so emotionally intelligent than us, and that's because you're feeding in love, not because you're teaching them that.
But it's like everything matters, right? When it's a child.
Let me stop you right there. I'll tell you another one. These 2 years I was in PTSD. So, like I said, I would spiral, right? Daily I would spiral. There were days I would call the 333 line because I was that bad. Because my therapist was like, if it gets rid, you have to. So one day I was just doom scrolling Instagram, and Miss Maria had posted this one post. She said the funk will lift. I don't know if you remember. It was just one line. It was just one line in your entire post. The funk will lift. That spoke to me like a bullet. And I'm like,
God.
the funk will lift. What I'm experiencing now is not a reality. The funk will lift. So that's it, Miss Maria. It's just those little things. People need it. People are starving and hungry for it, and we just have those doors.
And I think that's again for the Holy Spirit, because like whenever it was my Instagram channel, whatever I post is usually like, sometimes if it's like the Holy Spirit, we have to listen to that voice. We have to follow it. Yeah, so it's important. Okay, so we have come to the end of this wonderful, wonderful chat, Kaushi. So I've learned so much, and I admire you so much for the work that you're doing. I think you have the wonderful gift of sharing this message with so many people. I can't wait to see the kind of work that you are going to do in the future. If you can give our listeners one radical message that they can take with them, right, to uplift them when it comes to everything that you're passionate about, what would it be?
One thing would be go for it. Just go for it. I know it's a very random thing to say, but we have dimmed ourselves down listening to other people, and we keep thinking we are incapable of things because somewhere some mean person has told you you're incapable of it. This is the entire world giving you permission to just go for it. You have it in you. Go for it. That's all.
Yay! Amen. I love that. Thank you, Rochelle, for joining us. I know you've been busy today. And thank you, Kaushi, for taking the time for looking fabulous for us.
Yeah.
You've been our most glamorous. I think you will continue to be throughout our seasons the most glamorous guest that we've had. Continue to spread that light and joy and your energy with everybody, and wishing you all the best for the future.
Thank you so much for having me. Really, I'm so excited. This is for me a sign from God to say keep going. So this is how special it is to me. Thank you, Rochelle. It's been such an amazing experience to meet you, and Miss Maria, to reconnect with you after so many years. Thank you.
Yeah, and also this idea of having you on the podcast, that was Holy Spirit, because it was like Kaushi. Okay, I'm sending you the message.